Shauna of the Shauna Method, and I am here giving tips for at least one organized way to load the dishwasher. And I'm doing this post with some trepidation because I know this is a volatile topic and there are strong opinions. So I'm just sharing one person's approach, my approach, in case somebody needs some tips. The focus of my approach is to make it quick, simple, easy, and as hassle-free as possible. And before we look at the dishwasher, my first tip is it's going to work best if everybody in the household is using the same approach. So pick one approach and go for it. If you cannot agree on what is the best approach, then I suggest you alternate. Try 3 to 6 months with one person's approach, maybe 3 to 6 months with the other person's approach, and then evaluate. If you still cannot agree, you could alternate or you could just defer to whoever does the dishes the most. All right, let's look at the dishwasher. Okay, here's my actual dishwasher, and as you can see, there are some dirty dishes in there, so I hope that doesn't gross anybody out. But I wanted to show you that I like to load my dishwasher with all of the plates together, stacked up like this. I do this because first, I think they get clean better this way, and it's generally recommended that if you place them either facing forward, or if your situation is a little different, your rack is different, you may want to have them facing in. And what you'll notice is I don't have some plates here, and then a couple plates here, and then a couple plates here. I stack them this way because sometimes I have a large item or two, and I like to have an area that I can put them in, like a pot or a coffee pot. If there are little pieces all over, I can't do that. So that's why I stack them. The other thing I suggest is that you start from the back, load from the back, and work your way forward. It's just easier. It's hard to place over, to reach over dirty dishes and load. So just start from the back. I think you'll find that easier. Okay, here's a look at the top rack of the dishwasher. And what I want you to notice is that I tend to put all my tall glasses on one side and my shorter glasses or items on the other side. And the middle is sort of like mugs or medium-sized things. And the reason I do this is that sometimes I have a utensil, kind of like this spatula, and I want to get that washed, and I have this little rack right here. I actually have one on both sides. You probably do too. And that's what this is for putting utensils on. If I have some tall glasses here and some tall glasses here, I can't use the rack. So that's the way I like to do it. Now, if you don't use the rack, as I'm showing here also, sometimes you can just stick your utensil in, but rather than just drop it and risk having the handle go through and get stuck on the rotating water spout, I usually loop the tip of it over one of the tines. This way it gets clean and it doesn't fall through. Here's a look at my top rack. I happen to have this third rack for utensils, which I adore for silverware. If you don't have this, you might have a basket down in the bottom, like down here. Regardless, I suggest that you try to keep the items to have water flow in between them. If you're in a basket, that means I would put the spoons and the forks facing up, and I would put the knives facing down. This is largely so I don't stab myself. It's not necessarily because I think it makes them cleaner, although I do think that when the fork tines are up, if there happens to be anything in them, they get washed better than when they're down in the basket. The other thing you can notice here is that I have a sponge, and that's because I keep one sponge in my dishwasher and I keep one sponge over here, right here in my sink, and I alternate them. This way I know my sponge is getting washed at least every couple of days, if not more frequently. If you do this tip, remember to really rinse your sponge out well. You don't want a super spongy, super soapy sponge adding soap to your dishwasher, so rinse it well. Also, you can see that although I put my spoon in the back to load from the back, not everyone in the family agreed. So I fight the good fight over here too. And then lastly, I just want to talk about the controversial question of, do we pre-wash dishes? You can see here, there's still some food on that plate. And on this one, I would say, know your dishwasher. You know, if you're putting your dishes in with food and they're coming out dirty, then it's just not getting the job done. I don't tend to scrub mine because I've been told, that with newer dishwashers, a little food helps the soap to adhere and they get washed better if you don't scrub them clean. But I do rinse off the large food chunks, and that's because I don't really want to have to go back there and empty that food trap all the time. That's a pain in the neck. So I mostly just rinse them, but know your dishwasher. And then lastly, when it comes to the soap dispenser, right here, I strongly suggest you use it. I know some people just toss the pods into the dishwasher, but the reason I don't suggest that, I don't think it works as well, because there's actually a pre-wash. It's kind of a rinse cycle that happens before this little door opens. This opens for the main cycle. So I like to keep the soap in here, and that way it will open at the right time to wash the dishes and not get used up during the pre-rinse cycle. As I said, this is not necessarily the right way. I just thought I would share one person's opinion. I'm interested in your comments. Keep it kind, right? We all have different opinions on this, and I hope that these help you get your dishes clean in the quickest and easiest way possible.